Hey, B-siders, welcome to a brand new episode of my podcast. Thanks for tuning in. And today I welcome another guest to my show. And as always, we're going to talk about the impact music has had in her life and how that came about, etc., etc. I don't need to tell you anymore. You know the drill by now, I'm sure. Today, I'm going to say hello to Sabi. I'm so sorry. I hope I don't pronounce it incorrectly. I remembered it and then I got poof, it just evaporated in my head. How bad? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. And you said it right the first time, Sabi. I'm used to both ways, so it's
Yep.
okay. It's either like you have the like more Americanized A the sound or the super Latina like Sabi, like when people say it like super Latino, I'm like, oh, where am I? So I'm fine either way. I respond to
Okay.
both.
Because I thought, I was sort of thinking more German way, Sabi. It's like could be
hmm
German too. So
Yeah,
good.
Sabi is what I'm used
Cool.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. No, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a very creative soul and you do so many creative things with your life. What are you up to at the moment? What's the most creative thing you're doing right now that you can share with everyone here on the B-side podcast?
Hey, right now, I am actually building my first actual website, a first official website with like my own domain and everything, from scratch, with help from a friend of mine he also streams. I'm a streamer as well. So I stream live music and I do a podcast weekly on Twitch, and that's the biggest project I have right now. And I just took on a client to help her. She's a therapist, and I'm actually designing her website, but that's through Wix and stuff. And we've got a lot of big plans for her company, so I'm excited about that. Those are the two biggest things that I can think of right now.
Now you forgot a third one, I think. Your
Oh,
album.
my album.
Your album.
Well,
How can you forget?
well, it's like I'm already done with it. I finished it in July and it's coming out on the 10th of September. So depending on when this is out, it might already be live, but like in my mind, I'm like, it's done. It's just waiting to hatch. You know?
It sounds like it's a bit, if you listen to like other artists that have done their albums and then the release is like 6 months or maybe even a year later, who knows, depending, I can sort of see why you not forgot about it, but sort of like it's not a project I'm doing right now, even though for people who are loving your music, it will be like a huge thing, it's coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. It's like I've been hyping it up for the last 6 weeks, but in my mind I'm like, it's finished. I just have to
Mm,
make sure that the launch is pretty, but that's like I'm like I'm gonna stream live when on the day that it launches on my channel. But like I don't have like a big setup or anything planned. I'm just gonna play my music and be like, here I am. We're excited. It's out there. But yeah, I'm also like, whenever I get triggered, I start hiding everything
mm,
about myself. So
mm,
it's like it's there, but it's too new to be like, I don't know.
mm.
It's weird. I'm excited about it, but at the same time, I'm scared because it's
Yeah.
more it's more tangible, So I'm more scared of being like, oh, look at this thing versus like something that's kind of not there and it's sort of not promised.
Yeah.
It's like if it's not finished, it's like if people don't have to go look at it, then I won't feel bad if they don't look at it. So,
Do you feel like with your music, when you release either a new song or an album, that it's also like a little bit of a window into who you are and your soul, and that could be a bit scary? Is that?
yes, yes,
Mm,
very much, especially when I'm triggered. And I say that because I have CPTSD for anyone listening. Um, So basically, it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And for me, it's from childhood trauma. I basically was programmed by my family, my more toxic family, that to be seen is dangerous. And as much as like everything I create is like a little chunk of my soul, there's been this big fight to put it out there because it feels like I'm giving people poison, even though like the part of me that wants to create it and is excited to create it and wants to help other people with it and wants to heal myself and others through it is like, it needs to happen. This is what needs to happen. Like the world needs it. But then immediately like I like recoil as soon as like it's done. And I'm like, oh, it's out there. Yay. Oh no. Oh no, I shouldn't be excited about it. Oh no, like people shouldn't see it. Oh no, why am I showing people? Why am I asking for people's time? Why am I, taking up space? And it's like we're allowed to take up space. But yeah. So it's kind of like I always get told like you're so brave because like I only do originals on my stream. I don't do any covers or anything because I'm not that great with guitar. Um, and everyone's like, "You're so brave to do that," and I'm like, I don't know what else to play. And at the same time, like, there's part of me that's like, no one cares anyway, so who cares? It's like it's weird. But whenever I'm in a really bad place, it's really hard to be there and not get stuck in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even though I'm doing it. So
It's our heads are a weird place at times, aren't they? So
mhm.
yeah, I can certainly relate to a certain degree. I'm blessed that obviously, I do have my mental health struggles, but I'm obviously one of those that's not in a, how shall I put this? Like I feel grateful that my mental health is as it is, because it could be much worse and it could be much more of a struggle to deal with. So
Yeah.
whilst I do get it to a certain degree, yeah, it must be really hard to deal with the voices in your head. Oh, I call them voices in my head that constantly tell you the bad stuff that you shouldn't be doing or whatever else. It's a whole nother topic we probably could talk about in itself, and anyone that's listening
Yeah.
and struggles with their mental health in some shape or form can certainly relate to it. And that's why music is always such a good connector, I feel, for with ourselves and also with others. And that's what I loved about what you're doing. You're really brave and just stepping out and talking about your journey, your struggles, your successes and wins. We can't forget those, of course, but also doing it in a way that incorporates music. So thank you for doing what you're doing and being brave enough to constantly step out of your comfort zone. I think it really needs to be said. It's not easy. We both know it's not easy. So, we should tell people when they do a great job. So, yeah. High
Yeah.
five.
It's funny because like I take it for granted so much, or maybe I downplay it so much because it's like I'm used to downplaying myself whenever something good happens, because it's a part of me that's like, oh, you're attention seeking if you're proud of yourself, or it's like you can't be happy about this, you can't be proud that you're doing something that a lot of people can't do, because it feels like I'm being arrogant, even though I'm not. I'm just being honest about my abilities, and even with like my singing, like I'm a trained singer, I went to college, and people often compliment me on my voice, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I was trained. So it's not that I know or have skill, it's just like, oh, it's because someone taught me. It's not special, like and I deflect so many like good things, and I'm really trying hard to like um grow through that and allow myself to have self-compassion and self-love and self-kindness and accept the good in me and not swat it away like immediately. And that's been the biggest challenge of the last 3 years, is even realizing I had that. Because before it was like, oh, I'm depressed. But then when I started therapy, my therapist started pointing out how like I don't see the good I have. And she's like, you have so much good to offer and you negate it all the time. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought I stuck it out there all the time and I thought I was arrogant. And she's like, no, you're the opposite. So it's been a lot.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, it is. But I do feel from the little bit that I know about you that you're doing great and you continue to do great. So a pat on your own shoulder sometimes is definitely worth it. And yeah, the whole music piece probably helps with that journey. Do you feel like you creating music, maybe even listening to your favorite genre of music helps you with dealing with all your mental
Yes.
struggles?
Yes, completely. When I was little, I've always loved music. My favorite musician ever is Nobuo Uematsu. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. He's Japanese, but he composed like music for a video game series that I love called Final Fantasy, and the music is meant to be world building, because it's for video games, so it sets a tone for the different little worlds that you're in, the different towns or the events of the game. And for me, it was like a place to allow my creativity to bloom in my own head because it was like that was my safe space. I could sit in my room and just dive into like a story I was inventing, or if I was drawing, it was like I had this tone, this emotion that I had to get out of me, and I couldn't fathom how to get it out of me. And I would hear the music and it would connect with my heart. And then it was like, oh, I would draw from that, or, I would write something. And then eventually I started trying to like pluck it out on like this broken keyboard that my brother, he didn't want it anymore since it was broken. And dad didn't want to buy an AC adapter, which was the only thing that was broken with it. He didn't want to buy a new one. Seems like it's too much money. But I would sit there and like hold the plug in, and like anyone who's watched my channel, they've heard the story probably a million times. So I feel weird saying it, but this is a new audience. So, but I would hold it, and like one hand would be like holding the little plug in, and the other hand was like trying to pluck the notes to the songs because I just wanted to recreate that feeling, but in my own way. And then I started singing in the shower, and then eventually it ended up where I wrote a song about depression, and I didn't even know it was about depression until probably a decade later, which was the first song I ever wrote called Here I Am. And like it's about me being in a desert and being lost there. Like I felt called out to this barren place, and it's like one thing feels like too much, and then another thing feels like too little. So, like in the desert, like during the day it's super hot, and I've been told that at night it's super cold. So that's how my life felt. Like I was in this place that was like always up and down, up and down, up and down. Like either I'm super depressed or I'm super scared, you know? Um, and it was never like an oasis, a calmness to anything. And I prayed for rain and a cloud in the song, and I don't know, it bloomed from there. I started writing more songs, and a friend in college taught me how to play guitar, and then I named that guitar, my first guitar, Cloud, because of that song. And it's been like a place for me to allow myself to say what I'm incapable of saying with words, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared to be myself. I'm constantly hiding. And it was like this coded thing that could say everything it needed to say without it being out there and scary. So that's when I figured out, I was like, oh, like I'm depressed. That's what this first song is about. And I'm needing relief. And then all the rest of the songs were like prayers I had for friends or people I was worried about, but I was too scared to tell them, like, this is what I think you need. So I would just write a song, and I was scared to even share it with them, but like I felt like putting it out in the universe would make a difference eventually. And I couldn't not do it because it was just like, if I don't create it, I feel like something bad will happen, like for real bad. And it's like almost like if if I didn't turn on the light, we'd just be bumbling around in the darkness kind of thing is how it
Wow.
felt.
So that's
And
is that how you feel your connection to music is? Like you're sort of like a release valve for music in
yeah,
some shape or form?
yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanna
So like basically like I write music to get whatever I'm feeling out and to connect to whoever might need it. And for a long time I didn't realize that sometimes that person, that audience that I've been searching for has been me, my inner child. And that's what I've been learning the last year is like my main audience is me. And knowing that has just unlocked this part of myself that I didn't even know was capable of being anything. Like I entered, I entered this it was an open call for artists for an event that I'm going to be in October called Art and Mind. And I never would have done that like even a year ago. I would have been like, "Oh, I would never win. I'm not good enough. I'm not this and that." But it was like little Sabi deserves that stage. you know? And I
yes.
was like, she deserves to be heard. She deserves to be taken care of. Like, this is what made her happy. And she's still me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I was laid off from my job in January. And I was like, I'm not going to go back to the 9 to 5 that just curses my heart to not have energy to do what makes me feel alive. And that's music. Like all my other art kind of just supports my music. It's just kind of like another facet of it. It's like on my stream, I have all these little decorations that's drawings that I did for the stream, and it just feels like organically like I was gifted with these skills to make me feel like myself when I'm performing. If that makes sense at
Beautiful.
all. So
Yeah.
it all just kind of ties in. And I never understood why music was the most important one until I was like, that's how I feel connected to everything, to the stars, to the sun, to the earth we're sitting on, walking on, to animals. It's just this frequency I feel everywhere, if that makes sense at all.
Yes,
So,
it does. It does. It's for many people that probably sounds really what I call woo-woo, but I do feel the universe is a lot of vibrations and sounds, and we are made out of stardust. So we are connected to the
yes.
universe and those vibrations, and music is part of the universe. It's a sound, it's a vibration. So we are basically full of it, either
Yeah.
as a creator of it or as a consumer, but it doesn't matter because
Oh, I'm getting chills.
we just need to open our ears, right? And let it in.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, it can it can guide us. It can literally guide us in our life. And
Yeah.
I just I'm a consumer. I don't make my own music, even though I probably could if I wanted to, but maybe one day, who knows. But it's just anyone who doesn't have that connection to music, um, it's so hard to describe what it is.
hmm
So these conversations, I hope, opens up someone's ears a bit more and their hearts a bit more, and to allow a bit more music in their life, because it's the good juice. Anyway, I could go on for another half an hour. I won't.
Yeah.
I
No, I
won't though.
completely understand. Like for a while I was stigmatized with like my spirituality because they would tell me it was an idol. My connection to music was too strong. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is creation itself in an audio form. And for me it's always been a very spiritual kind of woo-woo thing. But when I learned more about science and dark matter and neutrinos and all sorts of weird little things, but like physics that I never got to learn in school. I'm just like, that it just makes sense, like every single, like the light spectrum, the colors we see, they're all at different frequencies. Every single note we hear, all the overtones to the notes that we don't even write into the music, they all interact with us everywhere. And it's like a rock is vibrating at a certain, velocity or whatever to stay a rock. And that has energy, it has a vibration, it's something, even this microphone, where like it's an inanimate object, but it's like, no, it has energy, it holds energy that's vibrating, So it's like some of us are just more sensitive to those energies, and we either like listen to music, which I think is an art form in and of itself, or we create the music, so it's something, it's something.
And you
It's
need
out there.
both ends. You need the creator and you need the one that consumes it for it to be whole.
Yeah.
Because it's, to me, it feels a lot of times, and you as a creator of music can probably share your view on that, but it's like an exchange. You create it, I consume it, and I obviously, my interpretation of what you create might be different than what your intentions were, but it's still this connection you're forming, and it's like this circle, this endless circle of, it's the word appreciation, and I mean, for me, it's a lot about self-reflection and then help me with my life. So any artist that kind of, even if I just listen to one song and that impacts me, I mean, that's a gift. And if we wouldn't have that exchange, we could make the world a better place. So it's, for me, it goes in all different directions in a way, but
Yeah.
just having
Yeah, I
that
completely
constant
understand.
music, it's, yeah, I don't know, it just is important.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. Like I had people telling me, because I've always had this thing with hiding. And all of me is like, you're not supposed to hide, you're supposed to be out there. And that when I would tell people that I was struggling with that and I wanted to, just be myself, they would be like, well, you should create music for yourself. That's who matters. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but I do, but without an audience, I feel detached. It's like, what is this for if not for someone to reflect back to me, what I'm putting out there and connect, like every single art form I can think of is about connection, like the most obvious is written form because it's words that we, intellectually understand. But it's like if you see a piece of art that, is just paint, it's a drawing of a tree, but something about that drawing, something about the way the artists did their brush strokes or their pencil strokes or whatever they did hits you a certain way in a certain moment for whatever reason. And it's the same with music, even if it's instrumental. Like my favorite composers are just mostly instrumentals. And there's no words to it, but something spoke to my soul and was like, this is you. This is who you are. And I was like, what?
And
So
are you able to describe, when, do you remember the first time when you heard your favorite composer? How did that hit you? How did that feel for you? Is there any way you can describe that, or is it too hard?
I'm trying to remember because I was young the first
Oh,
time
okay.
I heard his music. I was less
Yeah.
than 10, is all I can remember. It was sometime in the 90s. That's all I remember. But I can remember the first time I realized how impactful it was.
Yeah.
There was this one song, I think it's Final Fantasy 2 is the game. But here in the States and in Japan is Final Fantasy 4. But the song was composed for like this part that they had to go to the moon for whatever reason. I can't remember the story, but it was just this wild tone to it that just felt like so abstract and like enchanting that I couldn't get it out my head. And I just thought it was the coolest thing, and I just like I wanted to hear it again and again. And like whenever I would get that part in the game, I would just sit there and not do anything to like progress the game, just to hear it and just sit in that feeling. And I found that I was doing that often whenever there was like a track from the soundtrack or whatever that really hit me for whatever reason, because this is back when you couldn't just go online and listen to it. You know, it was like you had the game and you either recorded it on a cassette tape or you had the game. So there was no way to like burn it or, you know, pull it out anywhere. It was like you either had the game or you somehow found the soundtrack, maybe, but that was rare and expensive because it was Japan. So, you
Yeah.
know, I would sit there in that part of the game and just sit and simmer in whatever feeling that was. And it was always a different feeling, just depending. And it was just like anytime I hear a song that I need, it just depends on the time. So, like, when people are like, "What's your favorite song?" I'm like, depends on the time of day and like how I'm feeling, you know, and why I'm feeling that way. And
Hmm.
there's so many artists out there that just put everything out there, and any sort of moment that you might have, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the one. It's like you can have 20 love songs, but then there was like that one that's just like that's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
And that's the one I always put on repeat or something weird, you know, like
Yeah.
for days sometimes. Like there was this one song called um I Exist for Love, I think by Aurora.
Okay.
And I was listening to it, I think, for 3 weeks straight on repeat because it was just I just felt alive every time I heard it. And
Yeah.
I was just like I felt connected to everything everywhere. This
Wow.
concept of existing for love. And I was just filled with life from it. I was like, I need this right now. I need this because I was working like 9 to 5 and I felt very much like a zombie most of the time. And whenever that song came on, it was like, this is who I am.
Yeah. It
This is
pierced
who I
through
am.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ah, the juiciness of music, eh? It's just
yeah.
amazing.
And the song's like a very, very like lovey-dovey, super romantic song, but to me it felt like life. Like
Mm.
just
Yeah.
life, powerful, charged energy. I was like, I don't even care if I have a crush. I just ooh, I need this
But
song right now.
but that's funny because I have that a lot with songs where the original, I wouldn't say purpose, but sort of when you listen to it, it could be like a love song between man and woman or whatever, two lovers. But then I listen to it, and to me, it speaks on a completely different level. It could be related to my own love for myself or my love for what I do. It's completely different, but it so resonates. And it's, I mean, I had one song at the beginning of the year, and even today when it comes on, it literally pierces me in my stomach. I'm sitting there with goosebumps, and my stomach goes, oh, it just overwhelms me. So, but for different reasons than the
Yeah.
initial. So it's, I think that's the beauty of it though. And I
Hmm.
think you touched on that a little bit earlier on as well, that you create the song for yourself first, but then you put it out there and then it's open to interpretation of whoever listens to it. And you hope they get something out of it that helps them.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
just, I just love that so much. And I think people just take music for granted so badly these days.
Yes. Yes.
So, which brings me to another question for you. At
Okay. I'm
this
ready.
moment in time, you're ready. You got it. With your music, what, I mean, obviously it's for yourself, we've established that, but what do you hope to achieve generally through music specifically or your other art as well? What's sort of the main kind of driver for you?
Mainly, I started Sabi Lew Sounds, the brand, to help other creative people know that they that their voice and their light matters, that it has value, whether or not they have fancy equipment or, you know, like a producer or da da like uh, all my I call my albums janky because they're self-produced. The first album I ever put out there, which is Here Goes Nothing, I recorded it all on a phone. Like every
Wow.
single track was on my phone. I didn't have, you know, like one input for the guitar and one for the mic or anything. It was all my phone. And some of it is like different random audio things that I picked up around the city that I like manipulated to like sound like rhythms or whatever. But I literally had nothing. I just had a very cheap computer. It didn't have a powerful processor and all that stuff. I used a free program called Audacity. And I uploaded it to SoundCloud, I think it was at the time. And it was like the only free thing that I could use because like I couldn't do Bandcamp like I do now because I couldn't get the right audio quality at the time. They don't take MP3s, they have to take like FLAC, I think is what it's called. I don't know, some sort of like file that I didn't know about. I didn't know how to make it.
Yeah.
So I just put it on SoundCloud and then I just put it on YouTube, and I was just like, I hope someone who feels like they're not good enough can see, you know, my little rough take on life and know that it means something, you know, whether it's packaged fancy or whatever, you know, like the person on the corner busking with just, you know, an old guitar that they got from the thrift store has just as much value as like, you know, I know Jimmy Buffett just passed away. That's why his name's on my mind. But, you know, Jimmy Buffett in this huge concert hall with all the perfect equipment and someone, you know, leveling his audio and like making him sound perfect, you know, like levels and all that stuff. Like, you don't have to have, you know, a record to sign you, you know, a record company to sign you. You don't have to have, you know, like the perfect venue or the perfect audio or the perfect computer to stream or the perfect this and that. It's like the perfect is you. And you don't even have to have like all this skill, you know, like I am guilty of this a lot where I'll hear like an off note and I'm like, oh, and
Oh,
that's
no.
human, you know, it's
Yeah.
like we're humans. We make mistakes. It doesn't take away from the soul of the song. The spirit of the song is still there. Even if we make mistakes, there's my first album, like one of the songs I sang through the verses twice. I didn't even know until like a couple months ago. And I was like trying to put the lyrics into Spotify because I finally uploaded it to Spotify last year. And I was like trying to type in the lyrics and I was like, did I sing the second and third verse twice?
Oh no.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but it's so funny that we talk about this whole imperfect action is better than no action, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just had a friend today on Facebook put the question out saying, when you hear imperfect, what does that mean to you? And at first I got a bit triggered by it. And then I sort of stepped back and thought, this word shouldn't even exist. It should not exist because there is no perfect, so there's no imperfect. But we've been so conditioned to look for perfect. That's all we see. And so if we're not up to that level, we call ourselves damaged and imperfect. And I wish we could erase both of those words from the dictionary. I really do. I think it would help with so much issues across the board. So what you're just saying basically is anyone that's creative and creates music especially, upload it. Don't do it. Even if you feel like it's not how it should be. But it is right at this moment in time for what it is.
Yeah.
So I love that message.
Like if you want to make it, make it. If you want to share it, share it.
Yeah.
Just go.
I love that.
Just run with it.
I love that. I really love that message because I think so many people really need to hear that. So many people are holding back because they're so fearful of it's not. I mean, just from a music perspective, how can we creatives, like you as a musician, me as a podcaster and blogger, compare ourselves to someone like a Beyonce or a Coldplay or, there's other podcasters out there that have like tens of thousands of downloads a day. How can we even that's crazy, but we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not the right time. I don't have the right. Yes, you have you.
Yeah.
That's the right one. That's the right thing.
Exactly. And that's the other thing you said too, was if you can just help one person in any shape or form in something, isn't that like a goal achieved, mission complete?
Yeah. Success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
even if it's 20 years down the road, or maybe you're dead already. I don't know. Like 100 years later, someone unearths you somehow, and you're like, "Oh, what's this poem?"
Yeah.
It's like, what is this?
Listen to this song. Oh God, that I needed that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that then goes back to, and I think you said that as well, or maybe I've read it on your website, that it's the love and then the energy that love gives out, right?
Yes.
And that's so important. So yeah. I love that. So please continue to do what you do because you're doing it with love and passion.
Thank
now,
you.
A final question for our time together. Do you currently have a song that you could use to sort of describe your life and or your passions that you're currently pursuing? And if yes, can you share with us which one that is?
Yes, it's actually going to be on my new album coming out on Sunday, on the 10th of September. It's called Bloom. It's also called Sad Bunny's Song. There's a story behind that.
Yeah.
But basically it's a song I wrote for my inner child, promising her that I was going to protect her and honor her and help her shine and grow, and just reminding her that, sometimes it feels like we shouldn't be here, but the world needs you, is what it says. I'm getting teary-eyed. I was trying not to do this, but the reason I called it Sad Bunny's Song is I had this persona on stream when I first started streaming. I don't do it as much now, or almost at all. But whenever I was very, very cruel to myself, I well, first of all, I got bunny ears just because I love bunnies, and I had a bunny, an emotional support bunny named Dalila, who passed away, but she inspired me a lot because I learned that I have the capacity to love. There was always this weird doubt about it, and that I was powerless and loveless and cruel, toxic, lots of bad programming, right? But she was neglected, and because of how I loved her, she turned into a bunny that was scared of everything, and turned from that to a bunny that could trust us and wanted to be with me at all times. And it was within a couple of months that happened, months of time with me, that she grew to trust and feel safe. And I was like, oh, I have the capacity to heal and love another being. And so anyway, I had the bunny ears, right? That I was just like, oh, this will be a cute thing. Because streamers just sometimes wear funny hats or whatever. And I noticed that when I had the bunny ears on that first stream, I didn't take myself as seriously. When I made mistakes, I would laugh it off because I was like, oh, look at these silly ears. Like, who cares? Wearing bunny ears. What's going on? And then eventually I created it as a persona. Whenever I was being cruel to myself, I put the bunny ears on, and I called myself Sad Bunny. And it was like, if I messed up a chord on the guitar, I'd be like, bunnies don't know how to play guitar. What? Or, if my microphone messed up, it's like, bunnies don't do audio stuff. I'm just a bunny. What do you expect from me? And eventually, like, it unlocked self-compassion for me. And it started like this journey of healing. So I wrote Bloom, just as like this mantra that someday I would bloom at the right time in the right place, and that I'm needed in this world. And just to tell my little Sabi that was so programmed to want to disappear and want to hide all of herself. I told her, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
fight for your heart and keep growing. You'll bloom. Keep shining. You'll bloom, kind of thing. And I felt like that's what my bunny taught me, is that I'm capable of love and that I have that power to bring life to a dark place. And I always doubted that in myself, even though that's why I wanted to be a musician. I was like, this is what music is, and I have it. But all of my bad programming kept telling myself, you're delusional. This is a lie. That's fake. Like, that's woo woo. It's like, that doesn't happen. But I saw the power of love with my bunny. And I was like, I have that in me. And it encouraged me to keep going anytime I felt scared. Anytime those voices kept telling me, you're not good enough, you have nothing valuable, no one cares, why are you wasting people's time, etc., etc. It was like, no, someone needs me somewhere, and I'm gonna keep doing this, even if it hurts. And after a year ago is when I wrote Bloom. I realized, I was like, that was me. That was me that needed me then, and I still need me now. And now I'm letting it grow beyond me, and I'm finally actually excited about releasing music. My album release last year for Shadowlands was terrifying. I I was so scared. I felt like I was literally poisoning, like, the water supply to a village or something. That's how it felt. It was so otherworldly that my mind was going there again and again and again. I was so deep trauma response. And this time I'm like, no, like, I can think of so and so and so and so and so and so when I'm writing, like, my posts on my Instagram, because I make little stories with my Instagram. I'm like, oh, this song that is in this album that's going to be released would be perfect as a backdrop to this post, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm finally excited about it being burst into the world.
So you're finally starting to bloom.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So,
yay.
So yeah, that's why it's very much coming to fruition in a very weird way that I never would have expected it when I wrote it. So
beautiful. Oh, I love that. What a great song. It's like a little anthem at the moment.
yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Yay. Can't wait to check
Yeah.
it out. Well, thanks, Sabi, for being here today. It was a great chat, and I think the main takeaway for me is to not give up on ourselves and be a bit more gentle on ourselves and recognize that we've been put here for a reason, and whatever that reason is, let's just grab it. And it doesn't have to be something massive. But yeah, as long as we keep on going, keep on fighting, keep on blooming, we will be in full bloom in our own time. So
yeah.
I appreciate you sharing everything. I'm sure we could have talked for a little while longer, but yeah, I think we touched on some really wonderful points. If anyone wants to get in touch with Sabi, you can certainly check out the episode descriptions and go and check out her latest album, which will be definitely out by the time this episode will air. Otherwise, from us two here on the B-side land to you guys wherever you are, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you're taking care of yourself. Sending you all much music and love. Until next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.